a critical topic that is of equal importance to the climate crisis and life right large. Excellencies, colleagues who just joined us for this session, have a good afternoon and welcome to the COP28 World Climate Action Summit Spotlight Session on accelerating water and climate action. I am very honored to moderate the session, and it is, I have to say, only the second time in 28 years of history that water is formally featured in a COP summit. So we are very, very pleased. And you can continue to applaud, of course. It is only the second time, but certainly will not be the last. As individuals and governments, we are now acutely experiencing climate change through water. Water scarcity or water overabundance is often the pain point where our current systems buckle under the pressure of climate change. As we respond to the global stocktake and close gaps to 2030, water, of course, will be at the center. Today, we will hear from governments and finance leaders on how they are managing these risks around water, as well as converting them into opportunities for the economy, for social development, and the environment. The United Arab Emirates is located in one of the most arid places in climate-vulnerable regions of the world, where it has had to cope with impacts that more and more parts of the world have to face nowadays. I would like now, with further ado, to call our stellar panelists for today's panel on water. Let me call them to the stage. His Excellency Emomali Rahmon, President of Tajikistan. Please come on stage, Excellency. Do you represent Senegal? Well, thank you again. We cannot have a better panel today. Earlier this year, the world rallied around water at the very landmark UN 2023 Water Conference. It was the first UN conference on water in 46 years. A little overdue, you might say. Most importantly, it produced a suite of once-in-a-generation initiatives, actions, and norms that directly respond to the climate crisis. The conference was co-hosted by Tajikistan and the Netherlands, which the COP28 presidency had worked with to elevate the political visibility of the COP process and place water at the center. Without further ado, I would like to turn now to His Excellency Emomali Rahmon, the co-chair of the very historical UN 2023 Water Conference, and also the originator of the International Decade for Action on Water for Sustainable Development. You have the floor, Excellency.
تشکر زیاد محترم جناب رئیس، حاضرین گرامی. تاجیکستان از جهت تأثیر تغییریابی اقلیم با ذخیره‌های آب یا آسیب پذیر می باشد. بنابراین تغییریابی اقلیم در تاجیکستان با سرعت آب شدن پیریک‌ها و همساله سیل و آبخیزی‌ها و دیگر آفات‌های طبیعی مربوط به آب رخ می‌دهند. بر اثر آنها به اقتصاد کشور خسارات زیاد هر سال وارد می‌شود. با مقصد رشد تولید انرژی سبز و کم کردن پرتوهای کربنی ما تصمیم گرفتیم که اقتدار نیروهای برقی آبی خود را تا سال 2050 دو برابر زیاد نماییم. متناسب با حجم آب انبارهای کشور نیز تا این دوره دو برابر زیاد میشه. قریب 60% ذخیره‌های آب منطقه آسیای مرکزی در تاجیکستان تشکل می‌یابند. از این نگاه آب انبارهای ما برای تأمین منتظم کشورهای منطقه با آب کاریزی نیز خدمت خواهند کرد. مسلم است که تلاش و عملهای جدیدتر را طلب می‌کند. در رابطه با خطر و تهدیدهای آب و اقلیم می‌خواهم سه نقطه مهم را ذکر نمایم. یکم، درک عمیق مسئله و پیشبرد ثمرناک آن پیش از همه اراده سیاسی و توجه مشترک سران دولت‌ها و حکومت‌ها را طلب می‌نماید. همکاری تاجیکستان و نیدرلند همچون کشورهای بالا آب و پایان آب گواهی واضح همکاری‌های سازنده در این سمت میباشد. دوم، امروز ما شاهد عهده‌داری دسته‌جمعانه بانک‌های بین‌المللی رشد جهت صورت بخشی به مبلغ‌زایی ساحه آب و اقلیم گشتیم. همزمان ضرور می‌شماریم که دیگر جانب‌ها نیز تلاش‌های خود را در این سمت فعال نمایند. سوم، ما باید تهیه و تطبیق مکانیزم‌های مشترک رسانیدن کمک‌ها را به کشورهای آسیب پذیر تامین نماییم، زیرا آنها برای رسیدن به هدف‌های مربوط به آب امکانیت‌های محدود دارند. اطمینان دارم که تلاش‌های دسته جامعانه ما در این روند ثمره دلخواه خواهند داد. پیشنهاد ما عموماً این است که درباره بهبود بخشیدن وضع اقلیم، یکم این رشد انرژی سبز، دوم رشد اقتصادی سبز، هر دو این عامل آورده میرساند به کم کردن پرتوهای گازهای گلخانه‌ای به اتمسفر. آن چیزی که تاجیکستان میکند، ما 98% انرژی که استحصال میکنیم از انرژی تجدید شونده اکولوژی تازه میباشد و گازهای گلخانه‌ای قریب که به اتمسفر ما پرتوی گازهای گلخانه‌ای نداریم. با این نگاه نکرده ما امکانیت داریم که خیلی منطقه فراخ آسیای مرکزی و آسیا را در آینده با بنیاد آب انبارها، نیروهای برقی آبی با انرژی تجدید شونده و از لحاظ اکولوژی تازه تامین کنیم. با همین راه پرتوی گازهای گلخانه‌ای با اتمسفر خیلی کم میشه. یکی از راهایی که ما کرده ایستادیم و پیش میرویم همین است. 96% اقتصاد تاجیکستان این اقتصادی سبز است. با توجهتون سپاسگزارم. مرحمت بیایید همکاری میکنیم. سلامت باشید.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you for your leadership for 2 decades for the global water agenda and for showing us that the connection between energy, water, and climate can be done when you do things right at the national level. And thank you also for bringing up the critical importance of cooperation for a successful water management. So thank you. Thank you, Excellency, once again. So without further ado, let me now call yes, Your Excellency, I would like to now turn to the Netherlands, that has been also a critical global leader that has been working on fostering the water security agenda for many, many years. So Your Excellency Gilmar Pisas, Prime Minister of Curaçao and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, you have the floor. The floor is yours, Excellency.
Your Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Climate change manifests itself in water. It is evident that climate change leaves no place and no one unaffected. Its consequences are felt worst by people in vulnerable conditions who have been contributed least to climate change itself. Coming from Curaçao, a small island state in the Kingdom of the Netherlands in the Caribbean, I witness daily how climate change has pushed the water cycle out of balance. Erratic rainfall, droughts, floods, and sea level rise that jeopardizes our freshwater supplies. As one of the states in the kingdom, Curaçao, along with Sint Maarten, Aruba, Bonaire, Saba, and Statia, we realize very well that we, as a planet, have no choice but to adapt. At the same time, mitigation is a must. Beyond 1.5 degrees warming, our ability to adapt reduces drastically. 90% of adaptation action is water-related. We must make water the engine of climate adaptation. For states, it is particularly essential that support for projects on the islands begins now. This water transition to adapt to a changing climate requires that we invest in technology and climate-resilient infrastructure. In Curaçao, in 2028, we will celebrate the 100-year anniversary of our water desalination, a technology that first debuted on our island. We also have to restore and protect natural freshwater stocks and ecosystems. Groundwater, wetlands, and floodplains are our water buffers, floods, and droughts. And we need water and soil guide our spatial planning and economic development. Climate adaptation requires distinct financing approaches centered around patient-public financing. The Kingdom of the Netherlands is committed to increase its climate finance to 1.8 billion euros and spend more than half of its public climate financing on adaptation. We invite others to do the same and to live up to what we agree in Glasgow. To promote such collective action, the Kingdom of the Netherlands proudly co-hosted the UN Water Conference earlier this year together with the Republic of Tajikistan. And we are grateful that the United Arab Emirates leadership brought the messages of that conference from New York to Dubai. We are happy to contribute through diplomacy, through sharing our know-how, and through financing. Let me share how Kingdom has followed up its commitments in the Water Action Agenda since March. We signed $80 million in grant funding to the World Bank's Global Water Security and Sanitation Program, enabling, among others, the Multilateral Development Bank Collective Water Initiative to be announced here today. We convened the Global Commission on the Economics of Water, which will help redefine how we understand, value, and manage water from the common good. We look forward to their final report next year. We leverage political support from 11 heads of state for universal access to climate-resilient drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene services. We provided $55 million in grant funding to empowering vulnerable local communities to mitigate water risks and disaster and increase resilience in Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, and Uganda. We initiated the International Panel for Deltas and Coastal Areas, IPDC, to support countries and islands in developing their adaptation strategy. Excellencies, let's make water the engine of climate adaptation. We raised our ambition in New York. Here in Dubai, we accelerate progress by putting water at the heart of climate action. Finally, I would like to thank the SITs for their work in continuing to bring attention to this matter and creating partnerships to combat the consequences. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Excellency. Again, thank you for the leadership of your country in the global water agenda. Thank you for already showing that the outcomes of the UN conference in New York was successful. We see action being deployed, not only at the national level, but increasing the cooperation. We welcome the 1.8 billion on climate and water for adaptation purposes. These are all good news, not only for the water agenda, but for the climate agenda as well. And we thank you for acknowledging the work of the Global Commission on the Economics of Water. You will see a new and revised and upgraded report the coming year. So thank you once again, Excellency. Let me now turn to a critical voice in international engagements on water and the chair of the Group of Friends for Water and Peace, Your Excellency Natasha Perk-Musar. Can you please share more about your vision for expanded international cooperation to scale up action on water and ensure that we deliver on the New York commitments? You have the floor, Madam President of Slovenia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I would like to congratulate United Arab Emirates for the National Day you are celebrating today. Be proud, as we are all proud to be here hosting the conference here in Dubai. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the right to water has been included in the Constitution of Slovenia. As far as I know, there are only 4 countries around the globe which do have water as a right, as a constitutional right. We are very keen on the understanding of water as a public good that needs to be accessible to all. And I have to tell you that this right was put into our constitution by the effort of the young people in my country who were promoting this right, and they were collecting signatures, and a couple of years ago they were successful, and now Slovenia has the right to water as a constitutional human right. The role of water in climate adaptation is gaining recognition, yet the relevant interplay between fresh water and mitigation is still not generally accepted. I therefore applaud the attention our hosts are giving to water security at COP28 in both adaptation and mitigation, including through this important event during the high-level segment. Slovenia is here to show our strong engagement and commitment on the water and climate nexus. Slovenia is a partner of the COP28 Water Pavilion and is co-curating a thematic day on water, health and peace at the pavilion on the 6th of December. At the Water and Food Day, Slovenia, together with partners of the Green Group, will launch a virtual water knowledge platform. Therefore, I thank Costa Rica, Cape Verde, Iceland, Singapore, and the United Arab Emirates for this and the ongoing excellent cooperation. We are also putting our scientific and technological solutions at the service of greater water security, protecting water resources and ecosystems, and improving the resilience of water infrastructure. Examples include the use of artificial intelligence to help track and monitor SDG 6, the application of satellite technology in promoting transboundary cooperation and applying remote sensing for first-class flood forecasting, and an early warning system in a transboundary river basin. You know, I could never imagine that Slovenia is going to be a space nation. My country is a small country. The population of my country is only 2 million, but we do have a tiny little satellite helping nations around the globe to forecast the possible flooding. Currently, the project in India is going on. The Ganges River is covered by this tiny little satellite circling in the Earth's orbit. So the urgency of water-related challenges demands immediate action at all levels. We need to keep alive the motivational drive that the UN 2023 Water Conference created. For this, we need regular intergovernmental conferences, the appointment of the UN Special Envoy on Water, and the adoption of the UN Strategy on Water. In the meanwhile, the third UN Water Conference in 2026 has been agreed upon, and the UN Strategy on Water is in the making. On the other hand, I have to tell you, I am disappointed by the fact that after more than a year, the call, supported by 150 member states of the UN Secretary General still didn't appoint a UN Special Envoy for Water, and I would really love to see a special person to be the envoy, to be dedicated to the water problems around the globe. We know that there is no life without water. By accelerating water action, we are accelerating climate action. I appreciate these events today as a crucial first step in our understanding of the importance of water for both adaptation and mitigation measures. La vita è bella, joie de vivre. Life is beautiful, at least it was supposed to be beautiful. But it is not without a water. If we go home tomorrow or the day after and try to live with 3 liters of water per day, as it is today the situation in Gaza, believe me, we are not going to be successful in that. We are used to more than 3 liters of water per day. Thank you. And if we are going to use in the future water as a war tactics, nothing good is going to happen on our planet. What are we fighting for? Who's going to be the leader in the world? But I can tell you, to conclude, nature is the only leader in the world we have, and we have to listen to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam President. Thank you so much, Madam President. Thank you for the leadership. Thank you for also not exercising leadership at the international level, but for doing transformative work at home as well. And we really appreciate, that Slovenia is using top technology and artificial intelligence to do proper water management and foster transboundary cooperation on water, but also for having water as a constitutional right, I think that should be an example for other nations to follow. And the nexus between water, climate, security, and peace, I think you made that also extremely, extremely clear. So thank you once again, Madam President. And let me now pivot to the multilateral development banks, which have, as we know, a central role in bridging the financial gap on water. Your Excellency Mohammed Al-Jassar, Chairman and President of the Islamic Development Bank, you are speaking today on behalf of the multilateral development banks, which have, we know, tirelessly working over the last months on a plan to mobilize more finance and impact on water. So we are eager to hear about the plan. You have the floor, Excellency.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Governments, dear Multilateral Development Bank colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Multilateral Development Banks present around this room, I would like to join others in congratulating our hosts, the United Arab Emirates, for its glorious National Day. So congratulations. I would also like to share with you our collective vision for addressing the water challenges exacerbated by the climate change and affecting all regions of the world. Water security is key to the world's social, economic, and environmental development. In other words, achieving SDG 6 is key to achieving the whole Sustainable Development Agenda and the Paris Agreement. Water and climate change are fundamentally linked. While a lot is known about the adaptation in the water sector, we believe that the water supply and sanitation sector presents opportunities to contribute to the mitigation agenda as well. Better management of water utilities and irrigation systems, for example, would significantly contribute to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Annual investments currently allocated to the sector are very low. They must triple at least. The investments needed in water-related projects are estimated at $6.7 trillion by 2030 and $22.6 trillion by 2050. These are huge numbers beyond the capacity of the MDB's combined resources. During the last 5 years, 2019 to 2023, we have been collectively providing an annual average of $9.6 billion to finance the sector in developing countries, benefiting on average 79 million people per year. This might appear a small amount in absolute terms, or if you may say, a drop in the ocean. However, we as the MDBs play a major role in influencing this water agenda through our effects on other lenders, the range of products we offer, and our value addition, including the exchange of experiences. Hence, we commit to working together to support governments in establishing the necessary reforms for enhanced transparency and governance, financial sustainability, innovation, and digital transformation. These actions would help attract private sector participation to improve efficiency and promote innovation while ensuring that water remains accessible and affordable to the needy. We also agree that over the course of the next 3 years, we will endeavor to reach a collective target of doubling the number of people benefiting annually from our technical and financial support. Therefore, the Multilateral Development Bank's Partnership for Water is committed to prioritizing and increasing investments in water as a critical lever for climate action. Thank you very much for your attention.
We have to thank you, Excellency. I think that you have given us a clear metric and target on the way to 2030. Every drop in the ocean counts. Absolutely. We need more money, but we have to start somewhere. So thank you very much. This is exactly the kind of quantitative approach we need alongside, of course, political commitment. And we see that the political commitment is right there. So, Excellencies, before we close, I have the very distinct privilege to give the floor for a closing keynote to His Excellency Ahmed Ali Al-Sayed, Minister of State of the United Arab Emirates. You have the floor, Excellency.
Excellencies, colleagues, distinguished guests, thank you for the opportunity to discuss this critically important issue with you today. Water is a fundamental human right and the lifeblood of our shared earth. It is fundamental to all life, a key driver of human progress and development, and a critical enabler of all global climate agendas, including the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda. To that end, we must acknowledge that COP28 takes place in one of the world's most water-scarce regions. In fact, my generation grew up without running water. And my father's generation imported water from across the region to survive. And without special knowledge of water locations, most of our region and techniques, most of our region populations would have perished. The UAE and its neighbors in the MENA region rank among the most water-stressed nations on earth. And we are not alone in facing the damaging effects of droughts, heat waves, and other hazards as water scarcity spreads to other parts of the world. According to recent estimates, water scarcity could result in a scenario where by 2025, over 1.8 billion people could find themselves living in countries or regions with absolute water scarcity, meaning a lack of supply after all feasible options to enhance supply and manage demand have been implemented. It almost always means restrictions on water usage. And even without absolute water scarcity, an estimated 2/3 of the global populations are living under water-stressed conditions. The links between water and climate change must be front and center of all our efforts. Water is the primary medium through which people experience climate change, from droughts to flood to sea level rise, and we must recognize at the same time that water enables all adaptations and mitigation solutions and is a prerequisite for a just climate future. We will fail on climate change if we do not solve water. Nevertheless, the seriousness and urgency of the threat posed by water scarcity have not been fully recognized around the world, with water scarcity not receiving the necessary levels of public attention and financial investments globally. The international community is falling dangerously behind, and its efforts to confront this challenge with potentially grave outcomes, the business as usual scenarios in facing this rising global challenge simply would no longer work. Given that no nation will be immune to the cascading effects of unmitigated water scarcity, making this truly a global issue, delivering an important and urgent, comprehensive and coordinated response from the international community is crucial to achieving a water secure and climate just future. The UAE is committed to prioritizing action to address water scarcity with the urgency required. I am therefore pleased to announce a pledge of $150 million in new funding to support efforts addressing multiple aspects of this multifaceted challenge, providing needed financing to scale existing solutions and stimulate innovation to address the global water crisis. We are extending an open invitation to like-minded governments, organizations, and individuals from around the world to be a part of this vital effort addressing the water scarcity challenge. Calling on the global community to harness the power of increased investment, accelerating technological innovation, and expanding international cooperation. All stakeholders, governments, the private sector, researchers and entrepreneurs, philanthropists, international organizations, and all of us as individuals have a crucial role to play in overcoming this pivotal threat to global security and prosperity, and we must act now. COP28 is our moment to unite and rally the world behind accelerated water action to achieve water sustainability, equity, and resilience at regional and global scales. And this year, COP28 is delivering a program that gives unprecedented political visibility and support for water and climate, which will unfold over the coming years. This is our opportunity. We must take advantage of it now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention.
and gentlemen, music is the universal language that transcends borders and boundaries. And aligned with the truly inclusive spirit of COP28, engaging all cultures and regions of the world in unity for an urgent common purpose, we are honored to launch the COP28 Lasting Legacy Charity Anthem. This anthem was written by award-winning producer, my brother Rahmon, featuring 13 incredible artists from across the world, singing in their own beautiful languages, in solidarity for united climate and nature action. All proceeds for this uplifting song will go towards supporting climate adaptation projects for vulnerable communities in partnership with the UNHCR and the IRC. So please join me, a big hand of applause, please join me in welcoming these amazing artists to the stage for the debut performance of Lasting Legacy.
Dear heads of international organizations, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this session of the World Climate Action Summit. I'm Melinda Crane, and on behalf of the COP28 presidency, it is a very great honor to accompany you today as moderator. Our focus, as you just heard, is fast-tracking the just, equitable, and orderly energy transition, and I know that you need no reminder from me that this aim is absolutely urgent. The first global stocktake will formally conclude its work within the coming days, but we already know many of its conclusions, and they are clear. While some progress has been made, we are not where we need to be. To reach the Paris goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade, we must up our game across the energy sector. This session, while outside the conference's official negotiating track, offers a key opportunity for collective action by all of you here in the room, by all leaders here today, to close the gaps that have been identified during the stocktake and fast-track emissions reduction. Just a very quick word on our program. After a keynote from our host and opening remarks from others, we will unveil decisive initiatives by governments, companies, and financial institutions, initiatives aimed at expediting decarbonization of energy systems that we have now, and also at scaling renewables and boosting efficiency. And following this session, we will move on to a groundbreaking summit that could do more than any other single step to put us back on track to reach the Paris goals. I refer to the commitment by UAE, by the US and China to tackle methane and other non-CO2 greenhouse gases. So let us begin. As the first country in the Middle East to ratify the Paris Agreement and commit to reducing emissions across its economy with the aim of reaching net zero by 2050, the United Arab Emirates have demonstrated ambition to accelerate climate action at home, as well as through hosting this COP, the largest climate conference ever. Energy is a key pillar of a vision that's geared toward driving real-world solutions that respond to the global stocktake and close the gaps to 2030. We hear more now from our host, the president of COP28, UAE, Excellency Dr. Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber. You have the floor. Welcome.
Excellencies, heads of states and government, dear colleagues, distinguished guests, delegates, friends, and partners. Welcome to the United Arab Emirates, to Dubai, and to COP28. And allow me first to thank all of you for being here in person, for your engagement, for your guidance, and for your continued support. I'd like to begin this conversation with you today with a very simple point, and that is energy is actually our friend. Energy is our friend. It runs everything we rely on, from phones to factories. It keeps our homes, actually, it keeps your homes warm and our homes cool. It allows children to study at night and hospitals to treat them if they become ill. In short, the world does not work without energy. Yet, the world will break down if we don't fix the energies we use today. The world will break down if we don't mitigate the emissions at a gigaton scale. And the world can potentially break down if we don't rapidly transition to zero carbon alternatives. These are facts we must come to terms with. And I know that you, Your Excellencies, and CEOs and chairmen of well-established, reputable companies from all over the world, I know that you respect the science. And if we do respect the science, we must translate that notion into real action. That is why the COP28 presidency is launching the Global Decarbonization Accelerator. The Global Decarbonization Accelerator addresses the demand and the supply of energy at the same time. It is a holistic approach. It is a comprehensive plan for a system-wide change. And it aligns more companies and countries around the North Star of keeping 1.5 within reach than ever before. It is a fact. It is indeed a fact that this program and this initiative does align with keeping 1.5 within reach. And yes, it is the first time ever. That is why the COP28 presidency is asking all parties to sign the global pledge to triple renewable energy capacity and double energy efficiency by 2030. And I have some good news for you. Up until this moment, before I stepped on stage, we have received 117 signatories representing 117 countries. So 117 countries have endorsed the pledge, and I am here capitalizing on this opportunity to be loud and clear about my continued persistence of asking all parties to join. I appreciate those who have believed in our mission and our drive and have signed up to this, but I do need more. And I'm kindly requesting all parties to come on board as soon as possible, please. This can and will help transition the world away from unabated coal. So we don't only come with initiatives that are not pragmatic or practical or fully equipped by real technological solutions and economic propositions. We don't come and say, shut this down, but we don't have the solution. We say we gradually go down on this and we go up on that, and we equip it and facilitate it and enable it with solutions, with technology, with capital, with economic propositions, with policy. That is what is needed. It is not either or. It is a parallel approach. And if we do it right, and if we do it fast, they will converge much faster than you can ever imagine. But we must start. And that said, greening electricity only addresses 30% of the challenge we face today. What does that mean? While I do appreciate the fact that this is a very good step, in fact, it's a big step in the right direction, yet it only addresses 30%. What do we need? We need many more different solutions for heavy emitting industries. And that is why our plan includes the Industrial Transition Accelerator. This partnership cuts across all heavy emitting industries, including heavy transportation, aluminum, steel, and cement. You know and I know these industries, these important industries that our economies very much rely on, cannot run on renewable energy alone. Again, that's another fact that we must come to terms with. This initiative and program will focus on faster adoption of zero carbon energies like hydrogen. It will push for smart policies to commercialize and scale the hydrogen value chain. And for hydrogen, while I appreciate the progress made thus far, one has to consider and think and reflect, what would it really take for the hydrogen industry to take off? Policy, advancement of technology, applying capital to scale up this technology. But we also need the market. Without the market, this industry will not see light. So let's define the market, and let's develop one standard for the market so we can see much more capital flow into advancing the scaling up of technology and the commercialization of the hydrogen industry. We're not there yet. And I'm here not breaking news. Those who are in the industry are very aware of where we stand. And I know that almost all energy companies that have the technology background, that have the engineering capability, that have the people, that have the capital, that have the access, all of them have hydrogen very high on their priority list. Yet, they're waiting for the market to mature. And to mature the market, that's where governments need to step up. And that's where international institutions need to develop a standard that will allow for hydrogen to start flowing in the market. Excellencies, as we race to build the energy system we need, we must do all we can to decarbonize the energy system we have today. That is, in fact, a critical success factor for us. And that is one of the main objectives and strategic imperatives of the Global Decarbonization Accelerator, is to provide all solutions to decarbonize the current energy system while we phase up all new sources of energy that are zero carbon emission. And that means we must work very hard into taking real actions to decarbonizing fossil fuels. On this, I have been very clear. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I must repeat myself. The oil and gas industry must align around our North Star of keeping 1.5 within reach. And that is exactly the rationale and the thinking behind the oil and gas decarbonization charter that we are announcing today. This initiative, it's a big step for many. And I know it's a giant leap for some, especially those who have not already started on this journey before. So far, 50 international and national oil companies representing over 40% of global oil production have signed up. That is a phenomenal achievement. 19 of them are adopting net zero 2050 targets for the first time, and 31 have also committed to net zero methane emissions by 2030 for the first time. Now, is it enough? Again, hear me out, please. No, it is not enough. And I say it with full passion and conviction. I know that much more can be done. I know that they have the engineering capability. I know they have the capacity. I know they have the capital. I know they have the technology. I know they have the access. And I know that this industry has decades of accumulated experience in managing the most complex projects. If we were to combine all of these ingredients together and enable it with a platform that will allow for them to talk and to engage and to cooperate and to collaborate, we will be able to move much faster in this energy transition. And that is one of the main strategic imperatives behind the Global Decarbonization Accelerator. I do know, and I fully acknowledge and respect the position of many countries and companies, IOCs and NOCs. And yes, I do agree that this is a very good step in the right direction. But I will not stop. I will keep pushing for more. Methane is the low-hanging fruit. It is an easy and a quick win. Let's not overcomplicate the situation. I know you can do it. And I trust that you can do it. The sector must tackle the harder part of all Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And it must invest much more in clean energy and other clean technologies to help address Scope 3. We agreed in the beginning of this discussion that we will be factual and will come to terms with realities. What I'm trying to present here is facts and realities. And like I said, and just like I'm asking companies and industry and corporates to step up, I am also asking governments to step up. They need to be creative, they need to be innovative, and they need to come out of their comfort zone. They need to start thinking in a more progressive manner to develop new policies that will help trigger and activate and incentivize and motivate the private sector to come and invest more in decarbonization as well as in the new sources of energy. Methane and other non-CO2 gases are responsible for half of today's global warming. That is why the commitment made by the US and China last month was such a historic moment. And we're very proud, as the United Arab Emirates, to be the ones that have enabled this whole engagement. To have the two biggest economies commit to develop economy-wide plans for reducing these potent emissions. That is not a small step. That is, in fact, a big achievement. And I'm asking all parties to submit 2035 NDCs that are economy-wide and cover all GHGs in their submissions. For the initiative of the accelerator to be truly comprehensive, they must connect and build on existing initiatives. We don't want to work in silos. We must go and capitalize on what is already out there, what already exists, like the Breakthrough Agenda. Today we are launching the Emirates Breakthroughs, which outlines priority and actions for government and for private sector, like investing jointly in collaborative programs in research and development. And I'm pleased to say that 56 countries, representing over 60% of global GDP, are now supporting actions across power, steel, hydrogen, transport, agriculture, buildings, and cement. That's a great achievement as well. Excellencies, everything I have outlined adds up to more countries and more companies from more sectors than ever before, and I don't want to repeat it again. One point I want to underline though, everything is underpinned with full inclusivity, and everything is aligning with our North Star of keeping 1.5 within reach. And allow me to say, we have all the necessary momentum. We have the traction. We have the positivity. And I ask you all to build on it and capitalize on it and help us move even faster. We need your energy to decarbonize the world's energy. And I know we can do it, and I know we can do it now. So let's please work together and let's get results. I thank you.
Many, many thanks to COP28 President, His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, for those clear words and for sharing your vision and your determination and your energy with us. And I look forward to welcoming you back on stage later on for our methane summit. Now we want to pick up and do a deeper dive on several of the central components of the vision that Dr. Al Jaber just outlined. We are going to begin with the Industrial Transition Accelerator, and I'd like to ask our leaders to join us as I read off your names. Michael Bloomberg is UN Special Envoy on Climate Ambition and Solutions. Mark Carney is the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. Simon Steele is Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, and Faustine de la Salle is CEO of the Mission Possible Partnership, which brings together climate leaders and companies dedicated to industrial decarbonization. So if you'll please join me here on stage, then we can get started. I will ask Mr. Bloomberg to be here, Mr. Carney to be here, Simon Steele, if you'll go there, and Faustine, thank you. A very warm welcome to all of you. And because this is a lightning round, I'm going to dispense with long introductions and lists of your amazing achievements and simply get right down to business. And as Dr. Al Jaber reminded us, a major goal of the COP28 presidency is accelerating decarbonization of existing systems. And to that end, you are jointly inaugurating here and now a new platform to overcome one of the biggest challenges that we face, namely cutting emissions where it's especially hard to do so in sectors such as heavy industry, energy, transport, which according to the IPCC together account for nearly 3/4 of all greenhouse gas emissions. So I'd like to ask you to tell us, if you would, about the genesis of the Industrial Transition Accelerator, its aims, its modus operandi, and especially how it will add value to a mitigation landscape that is already crowded with initiatives and projects and acronyms, and what you think is really special about this particular Industrial Transition Accelerator. And I'll start right here with Michael Bloomberg.
Well, thank you. Live here?
I guess maybe you may need to speak from the podium up there. Sorry.
Well, thank you, and let me begin by thanking Dr. Sultan for his leadership in setting the stage for a successful conference and his willingness to tackle the especially difficult parts of the climate puzzle head on. I started with you 6 months ago, and who would have thought we'd be here today? What really is a success. So congratulations. You should sleep well and be very proud, you and your family, of what you did. As the world comes together for COP28, the good news is the global switch to clean energy is speeding up and building momentum. However, it's still not happening fast enough, and most of the progress has been in the electricity and transportation sectors, not in the industrial sector, and that needs to change. The challenge is, how do we cut emissions while still growing the industries that fight poverty and promote prosperity? For example, concrete and steel are essential to building roads, homes, offices, and machinery. But right now, concrete and steel production creates a lot of emissions. Another example is shipping and aviation. They make global trade possible, and global trade is the single most powerful anti-poverty program the world has ever created. But shipping and aviation also produce a lot of emissions. We want to expand these industries, especially in the global south, while at the same time reducing their emissions. It is a complex challenge, but it's one that we can meet with new partnerships across government and finance and private business. And Dr. Sultan deserves a lot of credit for making this challenge a key focus of his role as COP president. Today, I'm glad to announce that we're forming a new global partnership to take on the challenge. It's called the Industrial Transition Accelerator. Its goal is to drive more capital to technology that can help to decarbonize heavy industry, including promising new energy sources like green hydrogen. It will also help companies develop plans to cut carbon emissions and help develop policies that support and incentivize those cuts. The UAE and Bloomberg Philanthropies will co-fund the initiative. It brings together a great group of partners, including UN Climate Change, the International Energy Agency, Mission Possible Partnership, RMI, and the Energy Transition Commission. And more national governments have committed to reaching net zero emissions. So have many of the world's biggest financial firms through GFANZ, or as we call it, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, of which I've been glad to chair with Mark Carney. Mark, thank you for everything that you've done. He's been a long leader when it comes to helping the world finance the transition to clean energy and knock down barriers that stand in the way. And we're fortunate enough, I'm happy to say, to have him both on the boards of both Bloomberg LP and Bloomberg Philanthropies. Mark, we have plenty of work for you to do, but so does the world. Reducing emissions from heavy industry and transport is essential to preventing the worst dangers of climate change. And the science tells us that we really don't have a second to waste. So let me thank our partners in this work, And special thanks to Simon Steele and his colleagues at the United Nations. And we're looking forward to seeing the results of this partnership as it gets underway. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for what you do. We're on the right path, but make no mistake about it, we're not there yet. And unless we get there, and get there very quickly, we could start a calamity that would be irreversible and is just too difficult to contemplate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Straight to Moscow.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. Your Excellency, Dr. Sultan, thank you for your leadership. Excellencies, Salam Alaikum. I want to pick up where Mike left off, and Dr. Sultan mentioned this as well, and I want to be absolutely clear what we're addressing in the Industry Transition Accelerator. The progress that's been made on beginning to bend the arc of emissions has been in power generation and light vehicles. I'm slightly simplifying, but it's largely been there. This is about heavy industry and heavy transportation. Those sectors generate more than a third of global emissions. There's been very little progress in those sectors. In fact, those sectors, the emissions in those sectors will rise by another 30% by 2050 on current trajectories, making it impossible for the world to get to 1.5 degrees. And the challenges to decarbonization in heavy industry are numerous. They're both carbon intensive and they're hard to electrify. Reducing emissions requires investments in new low carbon manufacturing, in green hydrogen, and deploying at large scale carbon capture and storage. And many of these technologies are early stage, they're nascent. All of them are uneconomic at small scale. There are regulatory barriers. And given interconnections, and this is a key element of the Global Decarbonization Accelerator, is to focus on the system and the interconnections. Given the interconnections, slow progress in one sector slows progress in all sectors. So as a consequence of this, many companies in these sectors, these heavy emitting sectors, are caught in transition traps. They know what they need to do, but they struggle to get the financing to cut emissions meaningfully. And without a clear path forward, investors demand the return of cash flows today rather than encouraging those companies to invest in a low carbon tomorrow. The ITA will help spring those traps. It'll do so by bringing together industry leaders with policymakers, with finance, and with those technical experts that Mike just mentioned. And so far, 1,300 major companies representing over half of the emissions in their sectors, that means almost 20% of global emissions, are members of the partner organizations that are joining the ITA. And this platform is open. It's open to new members, only those that have the drive to match the ambition of the ITA. But let's be clear. The ITA is not about new net zero pledges. It is about unlocking investment to deliver decarbonization solutions across steel, aluminium, cement, chemicals, shipping, and aviation. And it will help those companies with science-based targets and credible transition plans to get the sustainable product demand, the finance, and the policy support they need to decarbonize. And, crucially, it will improve collaboration between sectors and with energy so that all can move faster together. The way it'll do this is to leverage existing initiatives, but at a totally different scale and scope, combined with the public and private sector to lift barriers and turbocharge progress. It will focus on scaling net zero technologies that these sectors need, driving up demand for green products, creating the right policy environments to reach tipping points for the mass deployment of decarbonization solutions, and developing financing solutions to bridge tomorrow's demand for green products with the investments that are needed today to produce them. And GFANZ is honored to play the role of the financing pillar as part of the ITA. To finish, the ITA should be judged on the scale of the projects that are launched in the near term and the gigatons of carbon reduced by the end of this decade. It's in the spirit of the task that the COP president has set us to unite all critical players in heavy emitting sectors and to focus on actions that deliver what's needed to bend the emissions curve towards climate justice. And with that, I will pass to Simon Steele. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as a newly fledged co-chair, I'm pleased to welcome the Industrial Transition Accelerator, the ITA. The ITA represents a strategic convergence of policy, finance, technology, and collaborative efforts to make significant strides in various sectors, including heavy industry, energy, and transport, to keep 1.5 within reach. From the UNFCCC's perspective, a key aspect of the ITA is the policy connection. This initiative can play a crucial role by annually feeding back the progress and challenges faced across industries to the COP process. The ITA can facilitate the sharing of experiences from diverse stakeholders through projects and collaborative efforts, driving cross-sectoral and sector-specific decarbonization. Focusing on addressing critical challenges and driving solution implementation, the ITA structure can boost the sustainable industrial transition. As we look forward to COP30 in Brazil, we anticipate witnessing substantial progress by both parties and industry toward our collective goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. This initiative has the opportunity to not only deliver tangible results, but also support parties by using lessons learned from projects to inform policy conditions necessary to deliver on the Paris Agreement at scale. I want to thank my fellow co-chairs, Dr. Sultan, Mike Bloomberg, Mark Carney, for putting forward the Industrial Transition Accelerator to unite industry, finance, and policy around a common table to tackle key decarbonization challenges. I also happily note that despite initially having 4 male co-chairs, the executive director and brain trust of this operation is female. Thanks to the leadership of Faustine, I think this initiative has a chance it may just work. It is important to locate this initiative within both the scientific context of the necessity of accelerating efforts substantially, with a view to confining global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees, which will require comprehensive and rapid global decarbonization across all sectors and industries, and the rapid and unqualified conclusion of the role of fossil fuel-based energy production and consumption. With its cross-sector approach and sector-focused support, the ITA can unlock a first wave of projects catalyzing multi-stakeholder support and accelerating our journey towards sustainable, low-carbon future. I hope we build on the work, and a lot of work has gone on before, to make the most of this opportunity and take all industry leaders with us on this journey. I look forward to supporting this effort as part of the Leadership Council of the ITA. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Simon Steele. And Faustine de la Salle.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, since 2019, the Mission Possible Partnership and many partners who are present in this room today has been focusing on demonstrating that it is feasible to reach net zero emissions in all of those heavy emitting industry and transport sectors. And we've galvanized corporate leadership in those sectors. We're delighted and grateful today to be partnering up with the COP28 presidency, the UN Climate Change, UN Envoys and Bloomberg Philanthropies to host the Industrial Transition Accelerator. This ITA will enable us to scale up and speed up our collective efforts. The clock is ticking. Given the lead time to build industrial assets, we need investment decisions to happen in the next 2 to 3 years if we want projects to be up and running by 2030 and start making a dent on global emissions. The renewable energy revolution shows us that investment can flow if the business case is there. But today, in the heavy emitting sectors we're talking about, we are still facing a green premium. So how can we unlock investment in those conditions? We need a number of ingredients to line up. We need to scale clean energy solutions for energy-intensive sectors. We need to achieve technology cost reductions through economies of scale. But to get to that scale, we first need demand at scale, even if the green products today are still more expensive than their grey equivalent. We need, therefore, policy frameworks that will not only improve the economics of supply, but also drive demand through regulation and mandates. And we'll need financial mechanisms to help de-risk the first wave of investment. The ITA is an unprecedented effort to boost existing initiatives that already address each of those challenges, but also to orchestrate the multi-stakeholder collaboration that we need across those different dimensions of the ecosystem to unlock projects. We'll do that on a global scale where we need harmonization across borders. And we'll do that locally as well, hand in hand with governments, to help unlock projects in a diverse set of geographies. Together with all of our partners, we can create the favorable conditions for investment at scale. We can support a pipeline of projects and put shovels in the ground in the next few years across the globe. We can learn from those first projects to do faster and to do better for the next wave of projects. But let's be clear, there will be economic and political headwinds. And so in that context, what we will need is unwavering commitment to collaboration and tenacious leadership from industry, from finance, and from governments to succeed and to keep us on track with 1.5 degrees. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. And before you leave us, before you go back to your places, may I ask you to stand and do one very quick family photo for the new accelerator to commemorate this moment. So if we can get our camera people over here. And ladies and gentlemen, let's please give the Industrial Transition Accelerator partners a very, very warm round of applause. Thank you so much to all of you. We wish you the very utmost success as the accelerator moves forward. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now shift our focus from decarbonizing existing systems to building the energy systems of tomorrow. And doing so is essential and exciting, no question, but it is also complex and disruptive, which is why the overarching title of this session includes the adjectives just, equitable, and orderly. We hear next from a group of far-sighted leaders whose countries have embarked on transitions that strive to fulfill all three of those goals while simultaneously achieving ambitious targets, tripling renewable energy and doubling energy efficiency by 2030. That's the joint commitment that our speakers have pledged to fulfill. I will now ask them on stage. Please join us one by one as I introduce you. Then we're going to take seats here, and then I'll ask you to speak one by one. And I now begin with country names in alphabetical order, starting with Brazil, whose Minister for Agrarian Development and Family Agriculture is with us. The Honorable Paulo Teixeira. Please join us here on stage. Yes. Welcome. And Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, is with us. They are moving far and fast to make Europe the first climate-neutral continent by 2050. And together with the COP28 presidency, she is announcing the Renewables and Energy Efficiency Pledge. So, again, going in alphabetical order by country and or international organization. I am next pleased to welcome His Excellency Hage Geingob. He is President of the Republic of Namibia. Your country has been called the potential clean energy hub of Africa due to its unusually abundant sun and wind, and he'll tell us how Namibia plans to realize that potential and what it needs in order to do so. Welcome, President Geingob. I'm also very pleased to welcome His Excellency Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, which aims at becoming a sustainable island state with one of the first 100% renewable electricity grids in the Caribbean. Welcome to you, sir. And finally, it is a great honor to welcome Her Excellency Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, which has seen a remarkable rise in green energy over recent years, driven not least by hundreds of billions of dollars of investment through the Inflation Reduction Act. And I'm hoping she is with us here in the room. Maybe not yet, but we will get started and hopefully she will then join us. And I'm sorry, an additional speaker. The Honorable Malai Saramaya Nawalu is also with us, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and External Trade for the Republic of Vanuatu, which, despite being carbon negative, has launched one of the world's most ambitious climate programs, aiming to generate 100% of its electricity from renewables by 2030. And just if you would take that seat, please. You take that one right there. Well, actually, you can go one down, and we'll leave that one vacant in case Vice President Harris does join us. And just a reminder, dear leaders, our window of time is rather tight, so I would be grateful if you would keep your remarks to under 3 minutes. And please, I would like you to speak from the podium since these are not working, as I understand. And we will begin now with Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
Thank you very much, fellow leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the world takes an important step to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. Reaching this goal starts with transforming the energy sector. As you all know, energy accounts for 75% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, and this has to go down. We must roll out more renewables, and we must use less energy to produce the products and the services we need. And if this is right, we must set ourselves global targets, because only what gets measured gets done. And this is the reason why 8 months ago we launched the idea of global targets on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And it looked like a long shot, an almost impossible gamble. But we all believed that we had to give it a try. And actually the result is amazing. While Dr. Sultan was speaking, and he obviously was very convincing, Mexico also signed up to our pledge. Now we are at 118 countries from all continents to sign up the global pledge. To double global energy efficiency, to triple renewable capacity to at least 11 terawatts. This is good news for at least 3 reasons. First, we send a message of hope to all those people who need access and affordable energy, to keep the lights on without polluting the air, or to prepare meals without breathing in harmful smoke. We need clean energy that is affordable and accessible to all. The world's cheapest energy is the energy that is not used, as we all know. And therefore we set the goal to double energy efficiency by 2030. And the world's cheapest energy source are renewables. Therefore, the goal to triple renewables by 2030. Solar energy, for instance, is today 10 times cheaper than 10 years ago. And renewables create new and good jobs. Today, there are more clean energy workers in the world than fossil fuel workers. And since 2019, in all regions that saw declines in fossil fuel jobs, clean energy jobs have outweighed these losses by far. So, the transformation of our energy system is not only good for the planet, but it's also good for our economy, and it is good for our workers across the world. Second point, with these goals, we also send a clear message to industries and investors. We are providing them with clarity and predictability about the future, the direction of travel. So they will know how much additional capacity we need by 2030. And this will help them plan their businesses and investments. The global targets can mobilize much needed private capital all across the world. And my third reason is that the targets will also provide a benchmark to track progress. I'm very grateful to the International Energy Agency and IRENA for their commitment to measure progress and to report it, because, as I said before, only what gets measured gets done. So, today is a day of celebration. We have built a truly global coalition with large industrial economies, with small island states, and with developing nations. We come from all corners of the globe. We have very different starting points, but we are united by one common vision, by one single objective, to protect our climate while seizing the economic potential of the clean energy transition. I would like to thank all those who contributed. First of all, the COP28 presidency. But let me also express my gratitude to all the leaders who championed this initiative from the very outset, like President Ruto, Prime Minister Motley, President Biden, all those who joined us here to make it happen. Thank you very much. This is a great moment. But our work is only starting. 2030 is around the corner. And in the coming days, we have to make sure that these targets are in the final COP declaration. And last but not least, in some countries, the cost of capital for renewables is prohibitively high. That is the message I took away from the African Climate Summit in Nairobi. So we need to unlock the necessary financial support for countries that need it. And therefore, I am glad to announce that in the next 2 years, the European Union will invest €2.3 billion from the EU budget to support this energy transition in our neighbourhood and around the globe. Because, my friends, every country on earth deserves clean, affordable and homegrown energy. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, today can be a turning point to make the clean energy go global and to put the world back on track towards our 1.5-degree goal. I thank you very much. I wish us all a very successful COP28. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Commission President von der Leyen, for that very inspiring speech. We go now to the President of the Republic of Namibia, President Geingob. You have the floor.
A question, please. I'm sorry. I want to post that and I will make my statement and you answer me later on. If you have a country, you are focusing on green hydrogen. You are saying that's a future. And all of a sudden, you discover oil, vast number of oil. What would you do? I would like to answer later on advice because I need advice in that. One country is in that trouble. Agenda 2063 beckons us to forge a united Africa, resilient in the face of global challenges. It is a call to build an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful continent, one that harnesses its resources sustainably for the benefit of all. Namibia, with its vast landscapes and untapped renewable potential, is poised to champion this cause. Our commitment extends beyond national borders. By harnessing the power of renewable energy, Namibia aims to propel a new era of economic growth that is both environmentally conscious and socially inclusive. Our ambition is clear: to position Namibia as a hub for renewable energy innovation, driving green industrialization that creates jobs, fosters economic development, and ensures energy access to all. We are currently developing 9, I'm being practical and pointing out action. Many of you are talking about theory, so to say. But I'm saying we are currently developing 9 different green hydrogen projects that are looking to use renewable energy to produce clean molecules that will decarbonize various sectors of our economies, including transport and agriculture, and create whole new industries, such as those emanating from the chemicals and basic materials sectors. These activities promise to diversify our exports and will significantly bolster our gross fixed capital formation. To do this, Namibia will need to deploy more than 10 gigawatts of renewables in these next 2 decades, more than 30 times our existing generation capacity. This is our pledge today. Now Namibia has generous deposits of lithium and light and heavy rare earth elements, critical raw materials that are needed to engender the energy transition. Today we are exploring ways to use these minerals to manufacture battery precursors within our borders, adding value to our natural endowment before exporting them, and we are aiming to do so by deploying additional renewable energy. Significant new infrastructure such as the new airports, roads, railways, transmission lines and pipelines for water and hydrogen will have to be built. Together we will need to move billions of dollars to achieve this fact. We recognize that green industrialization is not just an economic imperative, but a pathway to environmental sustainability and social equity. As we address the challenges posed by climate challenge, Namibia invites you to join hands in this most important collective effort. Namibia stands ready to collaborate, share knowledge, and forge partnerships that will accelerate the adoption of renewable energy technologies across the African continent. I thank you.
President, and of course it's worth noting that the sun and wind that will power that renewable energy pledge also make your country one of the driest in the world and therefore one of those most at risk for climate change. Thank you very much. Let us move on now to Prime Minister Drew.
Greetings to all. Thank you, Madam Moderator, and all those who are part of this panel. Thank all of you for coming and for hearing us. And today is why I am always proud of multilateralism, that someone from a country which is a smaller country within the Western Hemisphere, can grace the stage and offer our own approach and solution to what is happening with climate change. I speak, of course, for SIDS, small island developing states, especially those that are ocean states, rather, in the Atlantic and in the Pacific. Specifically in the Atlantic, coming from St. Kitts and Nevis, we are on the front line of climate change. We did not create the problem. However, we are suffering tremendously. Notwithstanding, we do not claim victimhood, but we really want to be a part of the solution. And St. Kitts and Nevis, although we are small, we think and we know that we can contribute to the solution of dealing with the scourge of climate change. And as I said, we have also pledged that by 2030, we would transition and transition significantly. I would like to say that just a few days ago, St. Kitts and Nevis, although the smallest independent country in the Western Hemisphere, we have just signed an agreement to have developed the largest solar energy battery in the whole of the Caribbean. Our size does not limit us. We also do recognize that we have a very significant resource in our country, a resource on the island of Nevis, the first country to develop tourism or to be identified as a touristic island in the Western Hemisphere since the 16th century. The issue of geothermal. Geothermal on Nevis offers us a real solution. Even though we will be 30% renewable in the next 2 years, geothermal gives us the opportunity to be 100% renewable by 2030. But it does not only allow St. Kitts and Nevis to resolve its transition issue. it really also gives us the initiative and the opportunity to help the other countries and islands within our sphere, because that resource has the potential to produce much more energy, maybe over 50 times the amount of energy that we require. And as part of our national thrust, and being a part of a region where we are partners and a part of the world in which we exist and want to see flourish and deal with this scourge, we are willing to share that energy resource with the neighboring countries so that they can help to transition to renewable as well. But we don't, thank you, but we don't intend to keep it there. We also want to use that energy resource to help in green shipping, because although we are small, we see over 1 million tourists per year, with a significant number of cruise lines passing through our island and country and through other countries of the Caribbean. How about if we can use this resource and offer them the opportunity to use green energy to transit through the Caribbean while enjoying a cruise, while enjoying the Caribbean islands? You can do so in a green way. That is also our vision for the region. But we have not only stopped there. We have decided that even though we are the smallest among the countries and already transitioning significantly and offering our solutions, we are now embarking on developing the largest course in any college for teaching our young people and our people in general to become technicians in the renewable space. And we will not only do that for St. Kitts and Nevis, we are also offering, or will also offer, these courses to our neighbors within the Caribbean and wherever people may come from. So at the end of the day, I'm saying that even though we are small and we are suffering, we are not playing victimhood. We are looking for partners and for solutions, and we have invested our own monies to make sure that we can transition. But we are asking that you join us. For example, to develop the geothermal, we have put forward $17 million of our own money. We need another $20 million. And this is where we're asking that partners can join us to help us to build out this resource that can help significantly in the region like the Caribbean. And so we are not claiming victimhood, we are claiming partners and to be part of the solution to resolve this matter. And so I want to wrap up by saying, once again, that we see this as a moonshot, because it has to be a moonshot. I see in the theme that we mentioned the word orderly transition, but I would like to offer up something that I consider oxymoron, that is disruptive orderly transition. The reason for that, if we are to accelerate, it means that we have to transition very quickly. In and of itself, that is already a disruption, but it can be done orderly. And so I want to say to the world, from the Caribbean, and from our small state, which has taken a big step to help to resolve this matter, that let us all join together, because if we don't, we will all be at loss. Let us work together to save ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And we hear now from Deputy Prime Minister Nwala. Welcome, you have the floor.
Dear Excellencies, Ministers and colleagues, the topic of just transition is a crucial and critical one for OSCE's member states, and we look forward to a constructive and fruitful discussions during this session. Our time here in Dubai presents a critical moment in history. We are confronted by the alarming latest IPCC signs and the GST synthesis report that highlights the urgent need for a course correction and the understanding that without a just transition, it will not be possible to achieve the 1.5 degrees Celsius. As small island states, we would like to raise attention to see special circumstances and the vulnerability that our communities face. Our small islands contribute less than 1% of global emissions, yet we bear the harsh burdens of climate change the most. In Vanuatu alone this year, we've been hit by 3 Category 5 cyclones. That is not fair or just. We are hoping that the operationalization of the Just Transition Program will contribute to supporting our country's green development and climate resilience. For seeds, our national context reflects significant barriers to ensuring elements of just transitions. These include high vulnerability to the adverse impacts of climate change, limited fiscal space, high debt, small-scale economies, and high dependence on external imports and that disadvantage our transition to clean energy. A strong link exists between sustainable development, vulnerability, and climate risk. And as developing countries, we have limited economic, social, and institutional resources, often resulting in low adaptive capacities and high vulnerability. The IPCC AR6 synthesis report highlights that prioritizing just transition processes, among other things, can enable adaptation and ambitious mitigation actions and climate resilient developments. It stresses that forward-looking policies that prioritize equity, climate justice, right-based approaches and inclusion lead to more sustainable outcomes and support transformative changes and advance climate action. OASIS is encouraged by discussions around the Just Transition Work Programme and looks forward to its operationalizing the COP28. Looking at the barriers and opportunities listed above, it is important that the outputs and outcome of our discussion on the GWP advance the just transition in seeds in light of these challenges, accelerating real, equitable, just transition pathways that ensure that the swift to a low-carbon and climate-resilient economy benefits everyone and facilitates adequate financing to support it. The work program should avoid duplication of work and build on existing work streams, and is encouraged to be forward-looking and action-driven, encompassing the needs of all nations and communities, and truly ensuring nobody is left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. And let us now go to Brazil and to the Minister for Agrarian Development, Mr. Teixeira. And Brazil has been called a potential clean energy superpower by the World Bank, which says that you can achieve that and simultaneously save the Amazon. So we're eager to hear your pledge, sir.
Muito obrigado a todas e a todos. O presidente Lula me pediu que lesse aqui para os senhores e as senhoras o discurso que ele fez para esta sessão plenária. Lançamento do Pacto Global para Energias Renováveis e Eficiência Energética. Agradeço a presidência da COP28 e a Comissão Europeia por esta iniciativa. Há algumas semanas, várias regiões do Brasil passaram por uma onda brutal de calor fora de época. A carga no sistema elétrico bateu recorde histórico. Pela primeira vez, superou 100 gigawatts. Essa é a notícia ruim. A notícia boa é que o atendimento a esta demanda excepcional foi feito por cerca de 90% de energia limpa, 60% de energia hidráulica, 20% de energia solar e 10% de energia eólica. Por isso, o Brasil se sente confortável em participar do pacto que estamos lançando hoje. A causa é nobre e urgente e temos muita experiência a compartilhar. Entre as tarefas que temos adiante, descarbonizar o setor de transporte será um grande desafio no mundo inteiro. No Brasil, utilizamos há meio século o etanol como combustível. Deixamos de consumir 2,5 bilhões de barris de petróleo, o que corresponde a mais de 2 anos da atual produção brasileira. Desenvolvemos a tecnologia dos motores flex, que podem usar qualquer proporção de gasolina ou etanol. Nossa gasolina já contém 27% de etanol e em breve vai conter 30%. Isso permitiu que o Brasil, nos últimos 20 anos, deixasse de emitir mais de 500 milhões de toneladas de gás carbônico, o que equivale a quase o dobro das emissões anuais de países como a França, a Itália e o Reino Unido. Os biocombustíveis podem ser uma solução para outros países e para os setores mais difíceis de descarbonizar, como o transporte aéreo ou marítimo de carga. Convido todos os países a associarem à Aliança Global dos Biocombustíveis. Outra fronte promissora é do hidrogênio verde. O Brasil lançou um programa para que o hidrogênio de baixa emissão do Brasil seja o mais competitivo do mundo. Podemos gerar hidrogênio verde de maneira sustentável no Brasil e, assim, atrair investimento, tecnologia e empresas para produzir os produtos de baixo carbono que o mundo precisa. Podemos também exportar esse hidrogênio verde para ajudar outros países no processo de transição energética. Nesse sentido, a meta pelo Pacto Global de triplicar o uso de renováveis é bem-vinda. Entretanto, sabemos que isto precisa ser acompanhado de um debate sobre o ritmo lento da descarbonização do planeta e trabalharemos ainda com mais empenho por uma economia menos dependente de combustíveis fósseis. O Brasil já possui 50% da sua matriz energética baseada em renováveis. Já é uma das mais limpas entre as grandes economias, mas não podemos ficar prisioneiros dos resultados alcançados até agora. Temos que quebrar a inércia dos resultados atingidos para alcançarmos novos resultados. A meta de dobrar a eficiência energética é um desafio de outra ordem, que envolve um chamado aos países que historicamente mais contribuíram para a mudança do clima, para que façam sua lição de casa, pois estamos fazendo a nossa. A questão climática não é só uma questão técnica ou tecnológica, ela é essencialmente uma questão ética. Muito obrigado, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
Thank you very much, Minister, for those words, and thank all of you for your emphasis as well on the need for capital for the investments that will be required. And that, of course, is a major theme here also at COP28. As I understand it, we will now be joined, perhaps she's already in the room, by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. The new pledge for a tripling of renewable energy, a doubling of energy efficiency. We're delighted to have you with us. And as I mentioned, no worries, thank you. It's wonderful that you can join us. And if you like, you can go straight to the podium because we are talking about the increased of renewable energy, and certainly the U.S. has seen a major rise in renewable energy, not least due to the Inflation Reduction Act's triggering of hundreds of millions in investment. So tell us your pledge.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. It is good to be here with the leaders who are present from government, from civil society, and philanthropy. And I want to start by thanking you all for your partnership in taking on, of course, one of the most urgent issues of our time. So our nations gathered 28 years ago in Berlin, Germany at COP1. At that time, many doubted the threat posed by the climate crisis. 20 years later, there's no doubt. Across our world, communities are choked by drought, washed out by floods, and decimated by hurricanes. Wildfire smoke darkens our skies, and rising seas threaten the lives and livelihoods of millions of people. The urgency of this moment is clear. The clock is no longer just ticking, it is banging, and we must make up for lost time. And we cannot afford to be incremental. We need transformative change and exponential impact. As nations, we must have the ambition that is necessary to meet this moment. We must lead with courage and conviction, and we must treat the climate crisis as the existential threat that it truly is. It is, dare I say, our duty and our obligation, not a choice. President Biden and I feel a deep sense of responsibility in this moment. We invested roughly $1 trillion over the next 10 years to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, boost climate resilience, and support adaptation and build a clean energy economy. The largest investment in climate, not only in the history of our country, but in the history of the world. Today, the United States is proud to join more than 115 nations in a commitment to double energy efficiency and to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. And because of our historic investments, the United States is on path to meet these goals. This year alone, the United States has built more than 30 gigawatts of solar energy, which will generate, we are proud to say, more power than 15 Hoover dams. And to carry that renewable energy from where it is generated to where it is needed most. We are building thousands of miles of more efficient, high-voltage transmission lines. To implement increased energy efficiency, we are also helping millions of Americans install energy upgrades in their homes and their businesses. We have also invested billions of dollars in clean energy research and development to continue our nation's leadership in clean energy innovation. And we understand the whole world will benefit from our work. When the United States increases renewable energy production and innovation, it lowers the costs and boosts the efficiency of renewable energy technology around the globe, which of course makes it easier and more affordable for countries around the world to meet their climate goals. And I will note, crucially, our collective pledge today to rapidly increase renewable energy also includes a call for all nations to stop building new unabated coal power plants, a type of power plant that the United States stopped building more than a decade ago. The climate crisis has emphasized that our world is interconnected and interdependent. And to meet these global challenges, we must have global collaboration. As Vice President, I have partnered with Caribbean leaders, including Prime Minister Terence Drew, yes, and Mia Motley and others, to launch a new initiative to build climate resilience and renewable energy for island nations. Earlier this year, I was proud to be in Zambia, where we secured $7 billion in private sector investment for initiatives such as climate-smart agriculture and renewable energy projects across the continent of Africa. Last month, I launched the Women in Sustainable Economy Initiative for job training and support for women in the blue and green economies, an initiative that in just the past few weeks has generated $480 million in new public and private sector commitments, bringing our total to $1.4 billion. And to ensure that developing countries can build a clean energy economy, today I am proud to announce that the United States is launching a new partnership to help build clean energy supply chains around the globe. We are also announcing $568 million in concessional lending as part of this partnership to help drive investment in clean energy manufacturing. I will close then with this. As Vice President, I have had the privilege to meet with young climate leaders from across the United States and around the world. No matter where they come from, these young leaders have something in common. They understand the urgency of this moment, and they fight with conviction, knowing we still have time to make a difference. So let us all share in their sense of urgency and their optimism. Let us all lead then with ambition and conviction. Despite the profound challenges we face and the time that is moving quickly, let us harness the power that we have together to build a cleaner, healthier, and more prosperous future for this generation and for generations to come. I thank you.
Vice President, thank you very much for joining us, and to all who have made these commitments, many, many thanks. We wish you the very utmost in success, and let us get one quick photo before you leave the stage. And dear audience, please stay with us because we will transition seamlessly now to our methane summit. So kindly do stay with us. So glad you've joined the photo. Thank you. We very much hope that all of you in the room will be inspired by the pledges we did just here today and make your own commitments to triple renewables and double energy efficiency. Thank you very much. That wraps up this part of this session of the World Climate Action Summit. We do now move very quickly into our next session, which is the Methane Summit. So kindly stay with us, and we will proceed immediately.